Have you ever watched something on TV that really resonates with you? If you're like me, the answer is yes. You might just not know it till years later. Up until my mom died, the daily routine at our house was NCIS, literally 24/7. My mom loved that show, and because of her illness, she couldn't do much else except watch TV or count the minutes before administering another round of peritoneal dialysis. She would say she loved the show because the characters were great and because the bad guy always got caught. We all know it's because she loved Mark Harmon. She would always joke that if she had met Mark Harmon first, that my dad wouldn't be in the picture, regardless of how she felt. Her eyes would light up whenever NCIS was on the screen. Now, one of the things about the show is that Agent Leroy Jethro Gibbs has a set of rules. It's one of those things you think is a character quirk until you really listen to what the rules are. Now, most of them apply to characters on the show, but a few of them should be followed by everyone. My favorite is rule number 8. Take nothing for granted. Now, you can take something for granted by not appreciating it properly or by assuming it's true without question. Based on the show, Gibbs was probably going for the latter, but I prefer the former definition. Gibbs never specifies, so we're both right on that. Before my mom died, I never thought things deeply. I liked what I liked, but I never went any deeper than that. Emotions were never strong. There were many, they were fleeting, but they were never strong. The one thing about my mom's death is that it forced me to sit with my feelings for so long that now I can really hone in on my feelings and really feel them. My therapist calls this coping, but I call it never sitting alone at the lunch table anymore. Speaking of emotions, my mother suffered from end-stage renal failure, ultimately died of a heart attack back in 2017. It was a gruesome battle, but I can't imagine what it would have been like with COVID added onto it. She spent the last few months bouncing between a hospital bed and assisted living facility, but at least I got to visit her. She never received great care from those places, so it's no wonder that COVID ran rampant. But I'm just glad she wasn't there. I'm glad she wasn't here to see any of this. My biggest regret to this day is that the day before she died, I worked late-ish, but I was super tired and I decided not to go visit her. That sat with me for so long. I never truly got to say goodbye. Now, I did get to see her body and say my goodbyes that way. But the point is, I got to see her. Many people this year didn't get to, and I can't imagine how much that'll hurt them. I guess things happen for a reason. I don't know what that reason is yet, but when God starts taking family members left and right, one by one away from you, you have to wonder what the fuck is going on. Did I do something? In the 3 years leading up to COVID, I lost 8 family members. This depressed me to the point where I would have thought that COVID meant the end of life as we know it. With phrases like the new normal, maybe it already has. Anyway, going into 2020, I wasn't expecting much. Just another year working at a job that makes my hair fall out and waiting for my long-term boyfriend to call me back. He never did, by the way. Instead, he bought a house. But to my surprise, 2020 was not that bad. Sure, the quarantining and masks were annoying, but oh God, I feel incredibly selfish saying this out loud, but for once, I started to feel lucky. For once, I wasn't worrying about my family. They were all self-quarantining, and well, to be honest, those that would have died from COVID died long before that guy ever thought of eating that bat. COVID slowed the world down, gave me that thing I needed most, time. COVID gave me the time I needed to process the loss I'd experienced and appreciate my memories. I used to be really angry that my mother was taken from me. I still needed her. But now I had time to grieve her properly. It's actually strange because After her death, time stood still, but it also blew by so quickly that 6 months had gone by and I can't remember a single thing. It's like the rest of the year didn't matter. I didn't grieve. I didn't smile. I was just numb, going through the motions. Life kept going, even though I needed it to slow down, even just for a second. And in that self-isolation, I realized I was grateful that she died when she did. COVID has been really scary, and I'm grateful that the ones I lost didn't have to suffer through it. COVID also gave me time to process my wins and really be grateful for them. I was able to really reflect on where my life was headed. I mean, I didn't need an editor breathing down my neck or a boy so narcissistic it puts Gilderoy Lockhart to shame. What I did need was to follow my dreams. I'm still coming to terms with everything. But now that I've had this moment to breathe, I can focus on taking my wins and making my mother proud. It's like I needed the world to close down so that I could stop and smell the roses. They're lovely, by the way. I'm not happy that my mother died. I never will be. But I'm grateful that she didn't have to suffer through this past year, and that this year gave me the kick in the pants I needed to get off my ass and do something with my life. It's been 4 years. Still hurts to be without you, Mom. Through our time together, mostly watching NCIS, I'll never forget rule number 8.